Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fresh Off the Set. I'm Elora Murray.
And I'm Sarah Jenkins.
And I get to sit down today and talk to Eric Mika, who is a basketball player, and now he is a podcast host, Now for Later. And he talks to athletes about going after dreams after maybe their career has ended, how to set themselves up for success. And it just got me thinking, Sarah, did you always want to be in broadcast, or was there another dream you had and you kind of pivoted?
Yeah, I love this question. I love this topic because I think so many people might have a passion or a dream. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're fed so much in society that things have to be linear. And if it doesn't necessarily pan out right away, to give that up. And your discussion with him, it relates. I so get it because I grew up thinking that I wanted to get into broadcasting. I loved writing. I loved journalism. But after I graduated college, I kind of pivoted and I ended up doing medical equipment sales for years. And so there was almost a good decade where I stepped away from journalism in general and broadcasting. And it wasn't that I didn't still follow it or love it, but just life took me in a different direction. And now that I'm back in what I knew I always loved, I feel so fortunate, but our lives are not always linear. Different things come up. Absolutely. And I feel like you've had similar, like most people have had certain things that didn't go linear, right?
Yeah,
like
and I mean, me and Eric talk a little bit about it in the podcast, but I was going to be a professional dancer. That's what I wanted to do. I got hurt in high school, hurt my ankle, and it never quite healed right. And for those of you out there who are ballet dancers, you know when you do point, if you don't have that ankle strength, then it's just not going to happen. And I thought for the longest time that it was going to solve itself. It was going to figure itself out, and it didn't. And then my knees got pretty messed up because dance is just hard.
It's hard on your body overall. I'm the opposite of a dancer, but friends, and I heard you tell stories.
And
it's rough.
And I ended up needing to have surgery on both of my knees. And as I was healing, I was like, you know what? This is just not going to happen. And it was really hard for me. Like I said, we talk about it a little more. That was my identity. I was a dancer. And so when that was gone, I was like, what am I going to do? And
it's soul shaking. You're really asking all these like long-term questions and reevaluating who you are as a person, you know?
And it was very much, I had thought about broadcast before, and then I thought about it more, got into the program, and I just thought, this is another way for me to tell stories.
Yes.
This is another way for me to tell other people's stories, bring some joy and light into people's life. So I kind of pivoted, but he is great. It is a great interview. He talks about how to help athletes, why it's so important to him personally. What do you say we take a listen?
Let's do it.
I'm Elora Murray, and I am so excited because I am sitting here with Eric Mika, who is a former BYU basketball player and now podcast host. Eric, thank you so much for coming into our podcast studio.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
We are so excited to have you here. All right, let's start from the beginning.
Yes,
let's go back to the beginning.
The actual beginning.
The actual beginning.
It was 1995.
Well, we're going way far back.
I'm just kidding.
Well, let's go back to the beginning when you first fell in love with basketball.
Yeah.
Maybe that was 1995. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I actually loved just all sports in general, right? I played them all growing up: baseball, basketball, football, soccer. I tried hockey for like a day. But turns out you have to be a good skater to be able to play hockey.
I mean, it's a tiny little prerequisite, maybe.
It helps. So they had me on this cone for, I think, that whole day, you know, to help teach me how to skate. And I was like, no, this sucks. Okay, I just want to play hockey.
Hockey's gone.
Hockey was out. Everything else was in. Played them all. Lacrosse was actually my favorite for a long time. It's what my older siblings played. We grew up in Boston, so it's a big sport there. And then, honestly, I just kept growing. Like, every year in high school, I was like 6'4", going into freshman year, so already tall. Yeah. And I just kept growing like 2 inches each year until I got to 6'10". And as I kept growing taller, I kept going more and more like, I should just play basketball. Like, basketball might be better suited for my body. Instead of getting hit by these metal poles, I'll just play basketball. So I really started to take it seriously probably when I was about 16, my kind of sophomore, more like junior year of high school. So not that early, compared to, I think, kids nowadays, what they're being told is a good time to get into it. So a little bit later, but, I just started putting in the work. And when you put in that much work, you either love it or you don't. And I loved it. So it just took off from there.
And there you go. I mean, you're 6'10". That's about the same height I am. We're pretty close.
Sitting down, you're looking at me and I'm cross-eyed because of this mic, but we're eye level. So you could be 6'10".
Yeah, basically. Let's just tell people that who are listening, they can't see me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how your career evolved over the years that eventually led you to BYU. How did that kind of happen?
Yeah. So again, lacrosse is just getting a major shout out. My older brother was playing lacrosse at BYU. All of my siblings had gone there. My parents went there. So I was just like, I'll just play lacrosse at BYU. That's what my brother's doing. I'd love to play with him. We are super close. Sorry, Alec. We are super close.
We're
still friends, still like him.
Things are good.
And so I was like, I'll just go there and play with him. But as I told you, I got better and better at basketball. I got more into it. And then the opportunity came along my junior year when I transferred to Lone Peak that I got offered in basketball. So I was like, yeah, I'll just stick to the plan. I'll go to BYU. I'll room with my brother, stay close to home. And it was probably the easiest recruiting pitch that staff ever had because I had two friends already committed there. My brother was living there. Like I said, my whole family had been there. I'd grown up a BYU fan. So I was just like, yeah, I mean, of course I'm going to go there. I didn't even listen to any other offers the rest of my high school career. Then I ended up there. It wasn't very hard for them to get me, but super.
They didn't even have to form a full question.
No.
You just interrupted.
Oh, yes. It was kind of I just already knew. They were like, do you want to come here on scholarship? I was like, well, yeah, duh. I was planning on it, so sure.
Love it. Okay, easy enough. This is going to be a hard question, I bet. What was one of your favorite memories of playing on that team?
That is tough.
I knew it.
That is very, very tough. I'll give you two, because I was only there for 2 years. My first year, I'd say going to the NCAA tournament when we had like I don't even know, what do they call it? Selection Sunday, where they pick all the teams and they give them their rankings and who they're going to be playing and all that. And we went to Coach Rose's house, and he has this theater room, and we all sat in there. We were crowded in there because we had the whole team. We had families. We had the staff, and they announced us, and we had a good feeling that we were going to get selected, but you just never know.
Yeah.
It can be really, really, it's hard. And sometimes teams that deserve it, they don't get in. So you never know 100%. And we got selected. And I remember, I think I blacked out. Like I got so excited. Like everyone was screaming. I probably stood up from the ground. I was laying down. And then I didn't like pass out or anything, but I just like couldn't even remember that.
It was like
exact
an outer
moment.
body experience.
Yes, it was wild. So that was very, very exciting. I'd say the second one was my last year there. We played at Gonzaga, and we had an up and down year, pretty solid team, but still very young, and so we didn't win like we were hoping to, like everyone was hoping to. Yeah. But you get to the last regular season game. Like I said, I feel like, I don't know, we didn't feel like we reached our potential, and so it was kind of a tough year, I think, mentally for everyone on the team. Yeah. But we kind of got to the last game and we were just guns a-blazing, no pressure. We were playing the number one team in the country, which was Gonzaga. We were playing at their place, so it was rocking, and it was their senior night. So it was just like the triple threat. It was the big three.
Lots of things stacked up against you.
Right. And to start the game, we were nervous. We were down like 20-2, I think. So bad way to start. And we came back, we won. They were undefeated, and we were their first loss. They were, they would have been 30-0. They were 29-1 because of that. I mean, it was just wild. Like that crowd from before the game to after, like the silence that there was, it was like palpable. It was insane. It was super, super fun. I'll never forget that or forget that team.
What a memory. And honestly, I went to BYU.
Nice.
And my uncle and my cousin are huge BYU basketball fans, and I still remember them freaking out about that game.
It was a wild game. Very,
so
very
your
fun
favorite
game.
memory is one of theirs.
That's good. That's my father-in-law's funny. He like still has it on his DVR. He's like, do you want to watch the game? I'm like, no, I don't want to watch the game. I'm good.
You're like, well, I lived it. Yeah. That was me living it.
But I sneak in the highlights every once in a while.
I mean, no one's going to judge you for that. Of course you have to. You have to. So after BYU, you played on G League Ignite and helped the U.S. qualify.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, all right, this might be a long-winded answer.
I'm ready.
G League Ignite. So that was this last season. That was my 6th season pro. Before then, I was in Italy, Germany, Sacramento with the Kings, and in there a little bit of G League, also a little bit of China, but that's another story. Then Serbia, then France, and then this last year was with Ignite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so being kind of all over. And super, super fun year. It was really awesome being close. We were in Henderson, right outside of Vegas. Got to be part of the journey of these young guys. There were 4 of them that got drafted. One of them was Scoot Henderson, who was drafted number 3. And, they have us, these kind of older guys as vets. I'm only 28, but like these kids are 17, 18, 19.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they're kids. Like they couldn't believe I was married and had children, like, they were like, what? What's wrong with you? How old are you?
Well,
You're ancient.
a 17-year-old.
I'm like, you have parents. They had kids. They're not that old. Anyways, super, super fun, seeing their progression and their growth in just like 6-7 months. There were a couple of guys that very talented, had all the tools, but they just hadn't put it together because they're so young. So to be part of that and at the same time be able to showcase my skills, get to play a lot of the game because we're relied on as the older players to help be in the game was a lot of fun. Now the USA thing, I played for the USA qualifying team.
Right.
I played 6 games. You generally have 12 in the span of 2 years, so they're all spread out. But yeah, I went to Puerto Rico. I went to Cuba. I went to Colombia. I had a game in Vegas. I had a game in DC. So all over representing the U.S., which is super, super cool.
Awesome.
And it's a tough job because you get 12 guys thrown together. And in 5 or 6 days, you're supposed to be a polished team that's buying into the system and plays super hard and plays a team that's played together their whole life. We played Puerto Rico. They've been together since they were kids, all on the same team all the way up to World Cup. They've played in World Cup. They played in Olympics. And we're supposed to beat them, right, because we're the U.S. So very, very hard, but very gratifying. And then to be brought on with the national team and scrimmage with them and practice with them in Spain and Abu Dhabi. I mean, I got back like 2 days ago. It was amazing. Like really, really
I was like,
amazing.
Is your jet lag, is your inner time clock so thrown off?
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay because I have a newborn. So it's like,
so you were going to sleep anyway.
Yeah, it was always off. It doesn't matter where I am or where I'm coming home from. I don't sleep, so I'm great.
Okay, there you go. Easy enough.
Yeah, long-winded answer. I warned you, though.
I asked it, and it was a great answer. All right, now let's talk about what's going on now. And I use the word now.
Nice.
Because,
Very
see
well
what
done.
I did there?
Yes.
Your own podcast, Now for Later. Let's
Yes.
talk about that. What was the inspiration behind it? How did it start? Long-winded answers are just fine.
I was about to say, I can't put this in a minute. Okay, so I'll try and be as precise as I can.
You're good.
Concise and precise. Good words. So I was in the G League. The G League is a very short season compared to other places. When I was overseas, you're generally there for 9 months, sometimes 10, like really long time.
Okay.
G League is 6 months, max 7, right? So I get to the end of the season. I have lots of time. I was home in April. I also was kind of nursing this ankle injury, so I really wasn't able to do anything.
That's hard.
I spoke to a couple of my mentors, and they were like, you need to do something other than basketball. Like, you have time. You literally have all the time in the world. You can't work out, so you should do something. So they, suggested an internship. So I asked around. I met with a couple of different people. I got one in Salt Lake, or in Cottonwood, with a venture capitalist firm. And it was amazing. Like, from day one, I was blown away with how much I didn't know, with how much difference there was in these worlds, between business and sports, but then also with how many similarities there were. Like, I thought for sure once I finished basketball, I was never going to meet anyone cool or funny or interesting. Like, I have the coolest, funniest, most interesting people in the locker room, right? Like, very, very big characters. And I just never thought I'd meet those people outside of basketball. And I did, like fun office atmosphere, really interesting things, like different from day to day, like pushing me mentally and emotionally and physically, like got out of my comfort zone. It was so good for me. And as good as it was for me, I was also on the other side going, why didn't I do this in high school? Why didn't I do this while I was in college? Why didn't I do this my first year pro instead of waiting my 6th year? So part of me was kind of kicking myself, like, athletes need to be doing this as soon as possible because it's inevitable, right? Like, your career is going to end, whether it's after high school because you never get a scholarship offer, or maybe you have something going on with your family or your health, And same thing goes with college. Same thing goes with pros. Like the numbers are just against athletes, right?
Yeah.
The chances of you making it from, high schooler with a dream, which is great, to a pro that can live off how much you make as a pro for the rest, just coast off your earnings. The chances are like 0.000 to infinity 1, right? Like
oh, geez, yeah.
very low chances. So this podcast is just for people like me that need to hear, like, do something, right? Get an internship, take the harder class, do some research on where to go to school and pick the right major, get a LinkedIn page, network, like all these little things, like they're little and they can be secondary to your sport and your dream.
Absolutely.
But they're important because the end of your career is inevitable. So why not just prepare on the side?
I love that. I went through something similar. I ended up with an injury and I was a dancer forever.
Yeah,
and I had to
same
pivot.
exact thing.
I had
Big
to
pivot.
It was incredibly hard because my whole life, that's what I was. I
Right.
was a dancer.
Right.
And then you have to pivot. So why do you think life after sports can be so hard for athletes?
Well, you kind of hit it on the head right there. I kind of going into this because I was in this business mode. I was recently enamored with business and venture capital investing and this language that I didn't speak. So I expected all these athletes that I had on the show to tell me, yeah, business, do this, intern here, read this book, go to this school, get an MBA, and some athletes did give me that advice, and give our listeners that advice. But a lot of it, which has been cool, and what I'm finding is that's only a piece, and that's what makes it hard. It's hard to figure out what that pivot is and how to find your next career. But what you said hits it right on the head. That's the other piece that makes it hard. You said, I was a dancer. Right? The other part is the identity.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm finding so many athletes, and whatever it is, when you pivot, it's so hard to just like have what you defined yourself just gone, right? I'm a basketball player. Or every time someone meets me, oh yeah, you're the basketball player. Or they talk to my wife, oh yeah, you're married to the basketball player, right? So I'm, defined as just this one thing. And so that's, pivoting, finding a new career is really hard. But so is finding like a new identity, right?
Oh, it's so hard.
So hard. And so that's kind of been like our first, not pivot, but like micro pivot and sort of discovery within this podcast is let's help athletes prepare for a career after, but let's also help them, gain confidence in other aspects of their life, right? So that they don't identify themselves while they're playing as just one thing, that they're more than one dimensional. And that's been really, really cool.
Absolutely. Okay. You have had some very impressive guests on your podcast.
Not
as impressive as you. We'll say that.
Never.
We'll say that, Eric.
Not as cool for sure. Yeah. Steve Young, John Stockton, Sharif O'Neal, trying to think who else. Jeremy Jones, the snowboarder from here in Salt Lake, Kyle Van Noy, 2-time Super Bowl winner.
Yep.
Harrison Barnes, Avery Bradley, with Team USA, got some really solid, Darren Williams as well, got some really solid commitments. I won't say anyone's names now, but season 2, stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of really fun people.
There you go. Coming soon.
But, it's just been cool. I think the coolest thing is, one, that they've all said yes. Like, I don't think I've known at least someone in between me and said star, or if I don't know them personally. So I think it's very cool that they're saying yes. One, because it's sort of showing me that there is a need, that they do see that this is important and needs to be talked about and needs to be said. 2, I think it's cool for them to give back to younger generations of athletes. So it's been cool that they said yes. And then 2, just hearing their stories as human beings, like you do all this Wikipedia research and Google research, you find their bios with their teams or with the Olympic website, whatever it is. And most of it is like, especially I'm thinking of Wikipedia, you look at the tabs and it's like high school, college, professional. And it's just like talking about stats and the story of their professional careers. And then at the very bottom, they'll have this little thing and it's like personal life. And it gives like one tiny little like, oh, they also have a family and they care about things and they're human beings, So hearing the human side and how they made that transition, how they wish they could have, made that transition a little better has been really, really cool. And I think important for young athletes and just people in general to hear.
I absolutely agree. Well, stories are what connects us. Stories and being able to relate to each other is what connects us. What is some of the best advice that you have received on your podcast?
That is tough. That is really, really tough.
So maybe it's the first thing that comes to your head. You don't have to say it was the best. But the first thing that comes to your head that was just solid, good advice.
I'm going to say I love giving 2-part answers.
We love it.
Okay, good. So the first one I'd say is like when we thought of this idea, like the genesis of our podcast and the thesis of it, right? I think someone who hit it on the head was Steve Young. I mean, he had an amazing football career, but also an amazing career off the field, right? As a commentator, as an investor, as someone with an amazing foundation that means something, as someone that's super open about mental health and all the things he's gone through. I mean, really, really amazing. We could have been on there for 3 hours, but he's Steve Young, so I only had about 40 minutes. But he said this, and I think the most important thing for young athletes, like this ties right into what we're trying to do. He said, always have a dream and a plan. You need to have both those things. So as a high school kid, he had a dream to go to college and play football. But his dad said, whoa, okay, cool. But, the chances are slim. What's your actual plan? Like, what's the 80% plan instead of the 1% goal, right? You have to have both. And then he got to college and he did start playing, and he got some stardom to him, and his dad still said, okay, cool, it's going good, but what's your dream? What's your plan? He said, my dream is playing the NFL. My plan is still finish law school, right? Then he gets to the NFL and his dad's still asking him that question. So I think that's really, really good advice, right? As a young athlete, it's amazing to have a dream. Like, go play in the NFL, go play in the MLB, go be a dancer for, at the highest level with a team, or, competing in college, like, but also have a plan. Like
Absolutely.
There's something that could go wrong, unfortunately.
That's life.
And a dream is a dream, right? So I think that was really, really good. Something that hit me personally, I mean, I love that, but like something that like hit me personally really hard. I had Coach Diljit Taylor, who's the women's track and field coach at BYU. She's amazing. One of the most, I mean, every single one of my conversations was really, really fun. She was super fun. Right now she's with one of her ex-runners who's a pro in, I want to say Budapest at the Worlds. I mean, like she's the top of the top. And she just said, I just thought the way that she put it was, you always hear about like how you should be proud of yourself and how you should take a step back and realize like the things you've overcome and all the amazing you've done. And I think that's important. Yeah. She said also, every once in a while, put yourself in your 10-year-old version of yourself in their shoes. Like, don't just take a step back to like, oh, a year ago, where was I versus where I am now? Like, go back all the way when you're a kid and introduce yourself and talk about like all the amazing things you're doing now. And it like made me want to cry, because like it's so easy to compare, and it's so easy to hate on ourselves and what we're doing. Like, especially, me especially, it's like, man, I'm not in the NBA anymore. Like I'm not doing this, that, and the third. Like, there's so many things you aren't doing. But if I told my 10-year-old self, like, hey, you're traveling all over the world with Team USA. You did play in the NBA. Like, you played against LeBron James. Like, you did this, you did that. Like, he'd be amazed, And
he absolutely would.
He absolutely would. So it's important to take that giant step back and, realize how lucky you are and how much you've done.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your child, like your child self.
Yeah.
I don't know if
They'll
that's
love
the
it.
right term.
They'll love it.
I love that. All right. And you actually, I want to talk a little bit more about this. You mentioned Steve Young's dad. How can this podcast particularly help parents?
Yes. I think it will help parents potentially more than athletes, or the same amount. I don't want to say more. The same amount, because it's hard navigating this world as a parent too. Like, the kids don't know exactly what to do and how to set themselves up for after sports, like for after something that's been their entire life, but neither do the parents. This is the first time you've been through it as well, right? And so nobody has all the answers, but I just think hearing the more experiences, the more stories, the more examples that you hear as a parent are going to help you be able to guide your kid, right? Like, obviously never forcing them, never pushing them. You'll hear a lot of the people that come on our podcast too are parents and have kids. Like, John Stockton has 5 kids that all played Division I sports.
Wow.
Right. And so hearing him talk about, I never pushed them to do this, I never pushed them to do that, I let them do this. Like, but then, how once they made decisions, how he then helped them and guided them and gave them the know-how to achieve those goals and their dreams, whatever it was. So for one long-winded answer,
We're here for it.
We have parents on the show that have been through it and then have done it themselves and then as parents. And two, I just think hearing these same stories that we hope their children hear will just give them ideas, right? We'll just help them to encourage their kids to do all those things I was saying earlier. Build a LinkedIn page, build their network, get an internship, get a summer job, whatever it is, to just be ready for after sports.
There you go. All right. Well, Eric, it has been amazing talking to you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We are going to do something called the Fresh Five, which means we always end our podcast with this.
I like
ask you 5 random questions.
Oh, geez. Okay.
That you don't know.
Right.
Nothing to do with your podcast. They're just to get to know you as Eric. So my very first question for you is, who is your favorite superhero and why? There you go.
I love Thor.
He's amazing. Why? Why would you choose Thor?
I mean, just look at him. He's beautiful to look at.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Incredibly strong.
There you go.
Very funny. I'm not a comic person, but I've seen the movies. The movies are hilarious. Chris Hemsworth is unreal. So
there you go.
I think he's my favorite. Yeah, funny and good looking, good combo.
Perfect. What is your must-have movie snack? You're at the movies. What do you absolutely have to have?
Gotta be popcorn. Just the old classic.
Do you put butter on it?
Yeah, but not too much. Not like a sickening amount. Like sometimes I see, like the people that
it's
stop,
like soggy.
They stop like a quarter of the way, butter it up. Stop halfway, butter up. 3/4 butter. It's like, come on.
Okay.
Let's see some popcorn, not some butter.
Okay, your third question. Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Your day isn't complete without blank.
My day isn't.
Like your day is just ruined if you don't do this one thing.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say what's something that happens every day. My day is ruined if I don't get my meditation in the morning.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Didn't see that one coming, did you?
There you go. How long do you meditate for?
It depends. I have a couple different things that I go back and forth depending on how much time, but nothing crazy. Maybe 10, 15 minutes max.
There you go. I know lots of people who say the exact same thing. All right, number 4. What is your hidden talent that maybe not everyone knows?
This is a question that we ask our guests as well, and they always hate it. And I'm like, why do they hate it? This is why they hate it, because there's no answer.
The tables have turned.
They've turned. Hidden talent. In high school, before I went to Lone Peak, I went to like a performing arts school, and so you had to take a performing art, and the easiest one was singing because you didn't have to learn an instrument. Anyways, it's the only A I never got in high school, by the way, was in choir.
Okay.
But I was in the a cappella group, so I got some pipes on me.
All right. Are you a tenor? Are you a bass?
I was a baritone.
Okay.
Right in the middle. I don't know what I'd be now. I mean, that's when I was 16. So my voice is probably deeper. But I mean, my wife would disagree. I think I'm a decent singer. I'm a shower singer for sure. Shower and car.
There we go. Hidden talent.
Yeah.
Maybe we come get you back on and have you sing.
Yeah, me and Thurl Bailey could do like a duet or something.
All right. There we go. And then your final question of the Fresh 5 is, what makes you laugh the hardest?
Oh, I'm a big TV show guy. So I have a lot of shows that I just recycle through. I tell everyone, I almost can't watch serious shows because life is already too serious, So
you know what? You and I are in the exact same page.
So I just like watching funny shows. I'll watch them over and over. I've seen, certain shows 3 or 4 times, and I'll just crank through them again. I don't care.
Which ones?
I mean, I love The Office. The Office is a classic. I love Parks and Rec. I know people will love those too. Community is one that's a little bit lesser known. Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Throw some cartoon in there. Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, both very similar.
Plenty of them. There you go.
A lot of shows.
There you go. Okay. Well, now we learned a little more about you. Well, Eric, it has been amazing talking to you.
I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in. And everyone who has listened, thank you so much. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.
Yes. Thank you.
Congrats, you made it to the end. If you want to continue to freshen up your day, you can watch us on Fresh Living every weekday on CBS Channel 2 in Utah at 1 o'clock. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, KUTV Fresh Living, and follow us on social media. We will see you next week.